Hello, welcome to Tabletop Syndicate, Joker Prime and Squints.
What's up?
Kind of a new series we're wanting to do is top fives. So, seen a few other videos like this, kind of like it. Sometimes it's kind of fun just to see opinions. I mean, we sit here and talk about stuff like this all the time anyway.
Right.
Might as well share it for more content for you, at least, if some people are interested. So today's top 5 list that we're going over is our top 5 favorite Marvel keywords in Heroclix.
Yeah. Not easy.
There's a lot to choose from. Obviously, they put out a lot of Marvel anyway, so there's probably way more Marvels than DC's.
Right.
And then narrowing it down to 5 at that. We're also going to give an honorable mention of one we like that didn't quite make the cut, but possibly could have knocked somebody else out.
Right.
So we're going to, start off with our number 5s. Squints, what was your number 5?
I went ahead and went with Fantastic Four. I went with Fantastic Four. When making the list, I definitely was looking at what would be the strongest to play at first. But then you mentioned, it doesn't necessarily have to be the strongest, just kind of the ones that we both like to play. And so Fantastic Four, not necessarily all of my favorite characters. I have characters that are in other storylines, but when I think of comic books, Fantastic Four is one of the first few characters that pop up in my mind.
Yeah.
And so really fun storylines and good characters. And then in terms of the pieces, they had a really long gap where they didn't release Fantastic Four because WizKids didn't have the rights, or Marvel didn't have the rights to them. So
then they made a hard comeback once they got.
So it's been really fun seeing all the pieces they released with everything.
Was it 3 sets?
Yeah, it was
a couple years.
Starter. It was a starter, then the set, and then another set
Future
after
Foundation.
That. So it was just boom, 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 and just so many fun pieces. And Doctor Dooms that are
and then they were in
overpowered, but awesome.
Avengers Empire also.
Yeah, and then there's another piece that I could never have played and that I want to have played on my other teams that I like, Silver Surfer. So it was awesome finding these Silver Surfers again.
There's a ton of them now, and they're awesome.
Yeah, so Fantastic Four, number 5.
All right, my number 5, I went with X-Men.
Oh, okay.
X-Men was number 5 on my list. That may or may not be surprising, because that's probably one of the first ones you think of when you think of me.
I thought that'd be a little higher on your list, possibly.
Again, it's not all about strength. X-Men has obviously got a lot of potential, but just more for me, characters that I like, that I think of. Obviously, when I was young, watching the animated series, now you can. A lot of people started watching again thanks to streaming services.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of variety in the X-Men, different characters. It's almost its entirely own universe.
Almost. I honestly thought for the long time when I was younger that it was.
Obviously, WizKids thinks it's its own universe because we need a couple, 2 sets a year of just X-Men.
Yep. Almost
but
always.
I like X-Men, and mine aren't necessarily the more recent sets. I like the good old traditional Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm. I don't really have a Storm that I like. That's my go-to Storm,
great ones,
especially with how many freaking X-Men sets there are. But those are kind of, Nightcrawler and things like that go through my head, and so that's what I went for my number 5 is X-Men.
All right, sweet. So then number 4.
Yes.
You want to do your number 4
Sure,
first?
I'll go for it. Number 4, this may be another one that surprised you a little. It's so far down on my list, but Spider-Man family.
I like that.
I really like Spider-Man family. Just a lot of different Peter Parkers in itself that I like. Exactly. A lot of Peter Parkers I like, and then there's also some good Miles Moraleses, some good Scarlet Spiders. They did some random, other Spider-Man family, like Golden Oldie's one of the most recent ones.
Yes.
And then Spider-Ling, some Mary Janes, a bunch. So I like Spider-Man family, but it only made number 4 on my list.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man, obviously I like the character a lot. But when it comes to HeroClix, Normally, I just think of just Peter Parker, and I
Right.
can get Peter Parkers on Avenger teams or some
sure.
other teams. But there are some cool Spider-Man that like are just Spider-Man
Yeah.
family, like Gwen.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Like Gwen is one that sticks out to me, and then Miles Morales. But there's some Miles Morales that I think they've given Avengers.
I think they've given some other keywords to them.
So there are some like Spider-Man family specific characters, but normally I can get them on other teams. And so that's one of the reasons why I didn't put Spider-Man family on my list, because I do love Spider-Man, but it's normally like just the OG like Peter Parker. That's what I think of as Spider-Man. So
And in 303v3, I played a pretty sweet Spider-Man family
You
team.
did.
So go check out that tournament.
absolutely.
Your 4?
Yes, that's right. That was your 4. My 4, Masters of Evil.
Ooh.
So I lean more towards like heroes a lot of times, but I do like some of the villains. And when it comes to playing the game of Clicks, I don't know if you can be much better than Masters of Evil for 2 reasons. Number one, very strong in that the Masters of Evil keyword, the clicks that you can play in the game are super strong. So it is. I mean, I like winning. So
Ultron starts with what, a 14 attack?
Yes, ridiculous.
Printed.
Yeah, and then of course they got the Baron Zemo from
If you're
Superior
playing,
Foes
if you're
of
playing
Spider-Man.
Golden Age, yeah.
You can get +1 and sidestep to all of your characters.
Yeah.
So it's just you could, and it's almost like some of the other keywords that encompasses a lot of characters and a lot of clicks. Masters of Evil includes a lot of different characters, and it's super strong. And so yeah, I do like to win sometimes.
You know, top 5, I guess 4 in the grand scheme of things of all Marvel keywords. 4 is not a bad, but it surprised me a little. That's that solo.
Yeah, but it is a lot of fun. I do like, but again, I do lean more towards playing superheroes versus villains.
sure.
I mean, there are some awesome villains on there, and of course, you can't have superheroes without villains.
Yeah.
So.
What is your number 3?
Number 3, I went ahead and put Avengers. I almost didn't put Avengers on my list at all.
Neither of us really play Avengers much.
Yeah,
to be honest.
because like they give everybody Avengers. It's like, hey, is it a Marvel piece? Okay, put Avengers on there.
And we kind of like the lesser known keywords like
Right.
storylines and things.
But I put Avengers purely because it does capture so many of my favorite pieces. Now, when I think of Avengers, I think of the like kind of the original Avengers, such as Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Ant-Man, Wasp, and so what?
There's one you're not going to
Well,
name.
Hulk.
I mean,
Well, yeah, Hulk.
you're not
but,
gonna say it.
I didn't think I had to. So it's just, I mean, it's kind of like a catch-all. Is the reason why. Honestly, for that reason, I probably should have put it as my number 5. But again, I do lean more towards superheroes.
Right.
And so,
You know, it's kind of funny because this was almost my number 4,
okay.
but I ended up making it my number 3. It would have been funny if it was my number 4 because it is Thunderbolts.
Nice.
And yours was Masters of Evil.
Very similar.
Yeah.
There's a few differences, few key differences.
And it's funny because I prefer Thunderbolts and he prefers Masters of Evil, so it's very similar, a lot of crossover, but there are some key differences.
Absolutely. The ones that stick out to me are usually like Winter Soldier, I think, gets
I like Winter
Thunderbolts, but
Soldier and
not-
Hawkeye. I don't think he had Masters of Evil.
Right. And then who's not Quicksilver, but
I feel like sometimes Venom, I don't think he's Masters of Evil, but he gets Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
So Thunderbolts has a little more Sinister Syndicate crossover, I think.
True.
I don't like the just Masters of Evil as much as you do, like
That's true. That's a good
the
point.
Songbird and some of those Fixer, some of those characters.
So that's Thunderbolts is another really good one. So that was your number 3, right?
That was my 3.
All right. So then you have number 2.
My number 2, I don't think you'll be surprised about necessarily, and obviously, my 1 and 2 are my absolute favorite Marvel. There's a big gap for me between them and the rest. My number 2 is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I figured they'd be on the list.
I
for
do
sure.
I do love my Guardians of the Galaxy. we just recently did an unboxing for War of the Realms, so go check that out. But I was happy to find out that had a pretty heavy sub theme of Guardians of the Galaxy.
And it's been a while.
Yeah.
It has been a while since they've released Guardians of the Galaxy.
And I love the old Guardians of the Galaxy set. I have
that was an amazing
pretty
set.
much the whole set. So
that's good. I like that. It's
Guardians
fun,
is my
and
number
it can,
2.
It can be pretty strong too.
Yeah, I love the old Star-Lord.
Right.
That was the Guardians of the Galaxy set Star-Lord.
In the white suit.
He can like outwit from his teammates and do a lot of cool stuff.
Absolutely. So
Is he the one that gives the highest damage to the whole team?
Or the highest defense?
Or sorry, defense.
No. Yes.
Yeah, so he can basically your whole team gets the highest printed defense from any of your characters. So if you have like Groot with an 18 defense, your whole team has a base 18 defense.
That plus modifier, so it's awesome. Very good. So that was number 2 for you. I'm gonna go ahead with my number 2. I went with the Defenders. And again, like Mars, there's so many.
I don't know what your number 1's gonna be.
I know there's so many Marvel keywords that I really wanted to have on the list, but when you're doing top 5, you gotta cut stuff. The reason why I put Defenders, even though it is, I mean, again, Avengers, they give so many characters Avengers.
Yeah, but I thought your Defenders would have been like 1 for you.
The reason why I did Defenders is because of Hulk, Namor, Doctor Strange. Well, so the Defenders team it is. But it's just, I mean, they give a ton of Doctor Strange's Avengers, but whenever I think of Doctor Strange, I felt like he was more of a Defender. Like, he created the team Defenders.
And I feel like for you, it seems like Doctor Strange and Hulk are like your 2 favorites.
Absolutely. I feel like they should always be on the team, and it really is upsetting whenever WizKids never gives Hulk Defenders. I don't understand, because, like, he was more of a defender in my mind than an Avenger.
And you got Silver Surfer on there.
Yeah, so Silver Surfer, that was the other I mentioned earlier. I was excited that they finally got Fantastic Four back, because when I built my Defenders teams, I could never play Silver Surfers unless it was like the old ones, and which were okay. But the new ones have been fun to play on Defenders teams, and he is absolutely an OG Defender in my mind. Plus, there's some fun kind of offshoot Defenders that you can play, such as Gargoyle and Moondragon,
Moon Knight too.
So that is nice to be able to get some pieces that you don't normally see, especially if you're going to be playing Avengers. Like, there's definitely some pieces like that don't have Avengers, and the only way you can play them if you're doing keywords is to play them on the Defenders team.
Yeah. So real quick before we do our number 1s, we're gonna do honorable mentions. These are teams that we really like that possibly could have knocked one of these teams out of our top 5s, but didn't quite make the cut. So what did you do for your honorable mention?
Well, I was going to ask you, I should have asked you before the video, how many do I get to mention?
1.
Just 1. Oh, goodness gracious. So that is really tough. So
I guess you can mention a couple if you'd like. Okay. I just picked 1.
So my number 1 honorable mention, I think, is going to have to be...
Go ahead and mention 2 of them that almost knocked it out there.
Asgardian was probably going to be one of my big ones, just because I do like that whole storyline, like Odin and obviously Thor, but you can play Thor in your Avenger teams.
Yeah.
But Thor and all of the other Asgardians, so like the Swift,
the lesser known ones that you
Odin,
like,
Heimdall, and so that I think that's a really cool storyline, and so I really like Asgardians, and some of the other ones were that I was gonna think about putting on there was like Hellfire Club and Humans.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's tough to tough to choose those.
There was there's so many. Yeah. So we obviously had some honorable mentions. So since you had multiple, I'll go ahead and share 2 instead of just 1. So one that I thought of while we were doing this for me was Brotherhood of Mutants.
Nice.
I like my villains, and obviously X-Men. I like my Brotherhood of Mutants, and recently, I guess it was Dark Phoenix Saga really re-upped Brotherhood of Mutants and refreshed that keyword. There were some strong ones that really had some good synergy together in that.
Yeah.
And then my number 1 honorable mention that really almost broke into the list and kicked somebody out was S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, there you go.
I like my S.H.I.E.L.D. as kind of, my heroes, but I don't know, a little bit on the side in the background. Right. Not as thought of, but still covers quite a few people.
A lot.
Like Captain Americas and War Machines and
Yeah,
some
see,
of those.
exactly. I like that. And see,
So
the reason
that was
why I
my
picked,
honorable mention.
yeah, the reason why I picked Hellfire Club instead of Brotherhood of Mutants for my honorable mention, or part of my list that I was thinking about, was just because you get a ton of crossover with those two keywords.
Yeah.
But there's some like such as Sebastian
Sebastian
Shaw
Shaw.
that like I like him a
That
lot.
tool.
He's almost like a Hulk, and that's probably why.
And
so,
some I feel like some of the Emma Frosts have
Yes.
just Hellfire Club maybe.
Yes. And so that's why I did that. But those are honorable mentions, and now
Yeah.
we're down to number one.
So I will.
Okay.
I'm not even sure where yours is going to come from.
Yeah.
My number one Marvel keyword is Black Order.
Yeah, that's not too surprising.
Also, kind of minions of Thanos, but Black Order. I love Black Order.
Yeah, I've
Thanos,
been brutalized
Proxima
by that thing
Midnight,
so many times. It's so
Black
dirty.
Dwarf, Ebony Maw,
What's
Corvus
their?
Glaive.
They're some of the strongest characters in the Marvel universe, so they have to be good.
As I mentioned, 1 and 2, Guardians of the Galaxy set, I could make full teams of my 1 and 2 from
Right.
that set alone. I love the old Guardians of the Galaxy Black Order pieces, but
There's
they've,
some decent good ones.
with Black Panther and the
new.
Illuminati, and some of those have come out with some newer, like Ebony
Right.
Maw's. I like, of those pieces, Ebony Maw is the only one that I like about
Of the
equivalent
new-
to the old one,
Right,
but I still like them.
absolutely.
And then the Thanos there's a lot that I like, but that old one is awesome.
Yeah, the old one from the Guardians of the Galaxy set where he gets to deal damage just before the
Has
game
some ridiculous
starts.
traits.
It's
Yeah.
just insane.
Your opponent has to pick between giving one character a lot of damage or each character one.
Yeah, so annoying.
I love my Black Order. Number one, baby.
They're rough. They're
Number
rough to
one
play
Marvel
against.
keyword is easily Black Order. And again, mentioning our tournaments, we like to make tournaments. Our Marvel keyword draft. Go watch that. This guy was being a real jerk.
Yeah, because I hate that keyword playing against it. But so yeah, go check out that tournament. My number one is not too exciting just because you've already mentioned it. My number one was X-Men.
Oh.
So
Is that our only crossover?
no, yes,
I think that's our only
Yes.
true crossover.
Yeah, because I mean I had Masters of Evil, you had Thunderbolts, but technically different.
Yeah.
And so yeah. Anyways, X-Men. I love. It was hard to pick between X-Men and Avengers, but X-Men. I feel like I don't know. I just really.
It's an awesome keyword.
Awesome keyword. You get so many different pieces. I grew up watching the TV show. I love some of the comic book storyline or the comic book runs, and so X-Men. Some of my favorite characters as well.
X-Men
It's
made
a lot
both
of
top
fun.
fives.
Yeah, because it's awesome and it's rough to play against if you play it right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hope you enjoyed. We're going to be bringing a lot of different top fives. This is kind of the first one. Obviously, we're going to do a DC one now.
I have to. I have to.
That one's harder for me. That's probably easier for
It'll
you
be.
to
I
throw
think it
out
will. I honestly think it will be, but it still won't be. I mean, there's still going to be a ton that
Yeah.
I forget about. Like, oh yeah, that's fun, and so it's still not going to be easy.
there. Yeah, but see you next time.